Okay, YouTube, I just finished the last book in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Boom. The Return of the King. Just finished it like less than 10 minutes ago. We're gonna hop into the review. Man, wow, I can't believe it's over. I can't believe that I finished this trilogy and it was a story to be told. I mean, seriously, this is... Again, let's just jump into the quick ranking. This was a 5 out of 5, baby. This whole trilogy was insane. The payoff you get in this last book is phenomenal. Tolkien knows how to wrap up a story. I mean, the ending is absolutely crazy and good. Now, the ranking of the books probably goes, for me, it goes The Two Towers is my favorite, and then it goes The Return of the King, and then my least favorite, but it's still at 5 out of 5, is The Fellowship of the Ring. So let's jump into this and let's review it kind of chronologically in order. I'm kind of just freestyling these, so if I miss something, let me know your favorite part in the story below, or in the comments below. Let me know your favorite part of the story. So, where are we starting off? Okay, the end of The Two Towers is Frodo and Sam in Mordor. I don't like how it took probably like 150 pages to get back to them, but I do like what we get in those 150 pages, where you get Merry pledging his allegiance to the Lord of the Mark, and he becomes a Knight of Rohan. And then Pippin pledges his sword to King Denethor of Gondor. I really like that. I like those two characters a lot. They held one of my favorite parts in the Two Towers book, so I really liked following them. I liked how they didn't know that each of them were pledging their swords to it. That's just what they felt compelled to do. And it was cool, little parallels of each other. Yeah. And then when they go to the battle, or when they're, riding for battle at Pelennor Fields, if I mess up the names, whatever, let me know. Eowyn, the daughter of Theoden, pulls some Mulan stuff and hides Merry, under her cloak or whatever, and lets him ride with the King Theoden, because he wasn't originally going to let Merry go to the battle. He's like, what can you actually do? And they actually kill the captain of the Nazgul. So, they actually do come through and get some glory for that. And then Pippin slays that troll, and then it leaves on like a cliffhanger that like he might have died because the troll like falls on him, right? And you pretty much think he dies, but it's later found out that Gimli saves him. But still, I really liked that. That was action intense. But then right after that, after the Pippin's cliffhanger, we get to Mordor, the action of what you really want to know, what's going on in Mordor with Frodo and Sam. Now, it's pretty straightforward. They get to Mount Doom, but lo and behold, freaking Gollum is still following them, still trying to get the ring. And when we get to Mount Doom, now this is where it gets crazy, because when we get to Mount Doom, Frodo chooses to keep the ring for himself, and the power of the ring basically, corrupts him. He wants to keep it for himself and no longer wants to throw it into Mount Doom. But then Gollum and him start fighting, and Gollum slips. He takes the ring, and slips and falls into Mount Doom, therefore finally dying after so many options. Like, he could have died so many times in the story, but this was the part he needed to play in the quest, is to fight with Frodo at Mount Doom and fall into it. But I like how it's written that the Ring of Power isn't decisively thrown into the mountain. Like, nobody decisively destroys it because it's so powerful. It corrupts whoever wears it. They end up wanting to keep it for themselves. So I like how it's written that basically the power of the Ring of Power, destroys itself through greed and power. Because in the end, it's two people fighting over it, and one just happens to slip and fall into it and destroys itself. So nobody, you know, decisively was good enough to be like, I have this ring, I've worn it, I'll throw it into the fire. So that's well written. I like that a lot. Like, that was good. The power of the ring destroys itself. Boom, boom. And then we get the like 70 pages of wrap up. And that was cool. I think I'm gonna bust open my quote of the story here, because it comes kind of at that part of Mordor where the captains like Aragorn, Gandalf, and everyone is riding, and they get to Mordor and they meet the lieutenant of Sauron, and he basically holds up. He's like bluffing. He like holds up Frodo and Sam's clothes and armor, and he's like, "Look, like, we got your boys. Like, there's no point. Like, just bend the knee, pretty much." But the quote comes from page 167, and it's Gandalf talking to the lieutenant. And this is when he's like pretty much like, bend the knee, you know, we won, we got your boys who got the ring. He says, but as for your terms, we reject them utterly. Get gone, for your embassy is over and death is near to you. We do not come here to waste words entreating with Sauron, faithless and accursed, still less with one of his slaves. Be gone. You know, that was just aura. Like, that was just aura. Gandalf still had faith in something, right? And boom, that was that. That was sick. It was not, you know, some, this was more like an aura quote. You know, I like that. Gandalf in white was really, really cool coming back. But let's talk about the wrap-up, because this was an insane wrap-up. We obviously got the return of the king, talking about Aragorn, or Aragorn. I think I've been mispronouncing it this whole time. I've been reading it wrong. I've been reading it with an A for some reason. But anyways, let's keep going. He's the king. He's the king of Gondor. He's the king of the West. He's the king, you know. I like that he finally gets his flowers, because he was a ranger, you know, just like protecting the realm. But finally, through the quest, he becomes his king, and he marries Elrond's daughter, Arwen, and I really like that. I really like that a lot. Another one of the wrap-ups that I really liked is Faramir. You know, he went through some trouble with his dad. I really like Faramir, the better brother of Boromir. But Denethor, his dad, was gonna kill him because he peeked into the stone, the Palantir, or whatever, I'm gonna mispronounce that one, the Palantir or something. He peered into it and basically got tricked by Sauron that all hope was lost, and so he was gonna kill himself and kill his son. That was just, his son just needed healing. Like, he was just hurt, he was like poisoned. Like, he literally just needed healing, but no, bro was gonna kill him and himself. He ended up killing himself, but I guess that can't be helped. He lost all hope, so, you know, they tried, but nope. He did that. But I like Faramir's wrap-up. He ends up marrying the Mulan girl, Eowyn. And I think that's fair because, like, Eowyn's such, like, a strong woman character. She's a warrior and wants to die in battle. But she ends up, you know, taking down one of the captains of the Nazgul, and then comes back, gets healed, and marries Faramir. You know, that's insane. They're going to be chilling in Rohan, because Aragorn pretty much says, like, no, like, you can still continue ruling this as, like, a steward or lord now. So, Aragorn, W him. I like him a lot. He's pretty much like the second main character of the story. So, he's so hard not to like. He's probably one of my favorites. If not, he is my favorite. I really like Sam, though. Sam and Merry and Pippin. I think they were proving, you know, that the hobbits were more than just little people. You know, the whole story throughout this entire trilogy, people don't really know who hobbits are, and then you find out, you know, hey, they're kind of badass people. And then that kind of brings me into the other wrap up of when Saruman, you're kind of like, what is going to happen with him? Because the Ents let him go, and then they run into him when they're traveling back to the Shire, and then they let him go again. So I'm like, bro, what? And then you find out that he was doing some dirty stuff in the Shire the entire time they were gone, during the quest, which I like how that was happening, because the Shire has no king and has nobody looking after it, if that makes sense. So when Frodo left, it was free for Saruman to manipulate and kind of destroy, which he did. He sent men and orcs over there, and they were like basically ruling over that place, like creating new rules and making it to where, you know, the hobbits were living in fear and pretty much having to give up all their resources to them, tearing down all the stuff, the tree and everything. But yeah, it's weird when they're coming into Bag's End and they open the door for the boss Sharkly, and it's Saruman. I'm like, wait, what? Bro really hobbled back and took his place in the Shire. But I like his ending, that he ends up dying by Wormtongue, because Frodo's gonna let him go because he's a good person, and he doesn't feel like that dealing out death is something that he's allowed to do or should do, really, because why should you deal death out? That's not your call, really. And so he's gonna let Saruman off, and no, Wormtongue had enough and literally kills him. I think that was a fitting end. Saruman finally can't manipulate everyone and dies by his own slave, pretty much. That's what Wormtongue pretty much was. So this book was amazing. The wrap-up and the payoff for it was so fun to read. Those last 70 pages were, like, just awesome. Oh, yeah, let's talk about, like, the end. Where Frodo, Elrond, Gandalf, and, God, I'm going to mispronounce her name, Galadriel, they're all ring bearers? Gandalf is a ring bearer? Come on, I did not know that. They were sneaky, they were hiding it. So he's a ring bearer, and Bilbo's with them, so it's all the ring bearers. They sail off somewhere. Is it like, I don't know, is it like ambiguous that like they set the ship on fire and they all died, or where are they sailing off to? Like, was I not understanding that? Someone needs to let me know in the comments below. Were they like sailing off to die, or were they sailing off to go do something, right? Because we know Bilbo's gonna die of being the ring bearer, and same with Frodo. He was like in and off sick. So what's up? I can't believe Gandalf was a ring bearer. Was that the entire time, or? I wish they dropped more lore about Gandalf at the end, like how old he really was and whatnot. Let's see. I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting anything. Oh yeah, Tom Bombadil. He's a goat, and I wish I knew more about him, but I have a weird suspicion. The way Gandalf was talking about him, I feel like he was like an old wizard of the council, if that makes sense. That would make sense. Like, the part he played in the first book, which freaking gets cut out of the movie, which makes no sense. That's why I had to stop watching the movies. The movies kind of suck compared to the books. Read the books. Don't watch the movies. So his part's cut out in the movie, but like he played a big part in the first book, giving them weapons and helping them through the forest. And like he's like controlling the forest. So it's like, was he a wizard at some point? Like what? What's going on? Okay, 5 out of 5. This was a wrap up of the gods. And boom, I got my next book right here, which I will show that I'll be reading. It's a standalone. It's not fantasy. It is a boom. It's a crime fiction, crime thriller by S.A. Cosby, King of Ashes. I don't think it's very long. I don't know how many pages. 333. So no, it's not very long, but you know, it's a standalone. It should be a fun read. Just finished a trilogy, so I figured I'd do a standalone. So watch out for this review. This is coming up. Boom, 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 boom. And yeah, let me know your thoughts of the Lord of the Ring trilogy in the comments below. Oh yeah, wait, one last thing. Gimli and Legolas go on their trip. They see the caves at Helm's Deep, and now they're going to the forest in Mirkwood by Legolas's hometown. So what a wrap up. He wrapped up everything. Anything you could think of. Even the dates, like, I didn't remember the dates, because, like, who remembers that? But I could tell one of the dates was, like, wrapped up somehow. Like it was, like, the date of Sam's daughter being born. By the way, he marries Rosie, what a goat. And he's, like, gonna be, like, the king of the Shire, Sam is. But, or mayor or whatever. But, like, the date she was born was, like, the date of something, like the date of the end of the quest or something weird. He even wrapped up the dates, bro. Tolkien is a goat. But yeah, watch out for this review. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Guys, goodbye. Goodbye.